In the last video, I showed you the relationship of these colors by creating a color wheel. And we talked about the opposites, blue and orange, yellow, purple, green and red, and how when you mix those opposites together, the colors cancel each other towards a gray or a brown. I'm going to show you now how I use that concept while I'm mixing my colors for a mural right on the wall, and how I use the color cancellation to arrive at my color destination. Let's start by making a sky. So this is the same blue. You can see it's going to look significantly brighter when I first put it on. The white shows through and gives a lot more brilliant blue, but when this dries, it is this blue right here. So to make my sky, I always keep a bucket of water handy, as this is water-based paint. I'm going to definitely need to be adding white to this. Just about any sky will get lighter as it gets towards the horizon. So I'll have the most white down low here. And I think what I'm going to do is leave white areas so that when I make my clouds, they'll cover real nice. This is already white. I'm looking for a general, just kind of sky blue. To me, this looks slightly green. I'm gonna add, if it's too green, I'm gonna add the opposite of green, which is red. So let's give some red, and I'm gonna add it to my blue. This will give me a more natural and earthy color, I'll get a little bit more red on there. At this point in a painting, sometimes I'll think to myself that the sky looks, not bright blue enough. It doesn't look bright like the sky outside. You might want it to be a brighter blue, but you got to be careful with that, because you can never represent that real light that's outside. You just don't have that brightness spectrum at your disposal when you're painting. So as I'm at the beginning of a painting, I want to make sure I give myself room to get brighter tones as I come into the foreground. And if I start out with a super bright sky, and that's the brightest thing in the picture, then it completely limits what level of brightness I can put in the foreground. I always want to leave myself room to get brighter or darker. So background colors, it's just always good to lean towards a muted, grayer version. It looks like a slice of pineapple, like a rainbow pineapple. I've heard it called atmospheric effect. Gets lighter as it comes down. I've got blue in this brush. I won't bother rinsing that one out just yet. I might use it later. So I'll get a clean brush so I can keep a nice bright white. And I'll do a few of these guys on this one. I use my finger a lot too painting. This is fun. Just using that to blend things. But clouds have shadows. If you want to make them look anything like the real thing, unless they were overexposed or something in the picture, then you would see those shadows. We got to paint those shadows. So I'll lay my shape down, and then we'll talk about what is the appropriate color to shadow these clouds. Okay, the question is now, where is my source of light? I'm going to make it coming from, if you're standing in the picture, it's coming from that way. So I need to have the right to center portion of the clouds be my light color, the color of the light. I want my light to pop out against this blue sky. And so to make that happen, I'm going to use color contrast. So orange light, the sun tends to cast orange light across a blue sky, and right here we have a natural occurrence of complementary colors. We have orange light coming across a blue sky. And this makes a lot of beauty in nature when you see a bluish colored shadow on the other side of a orange bright light. And I say orange, but that just means that it has some orange in it. I get my orange by mixing red and yellow. I especially like this yellow too, this Sherwin-Williams yellow base. It's the brightest one I can find so far in this particular kind of paint. Anyway, just the slightest degree of it is good, so I'll even add white because I want these to be real bright. Tiny bit of yellow, tiny bit of red. That's a pointy cloud. I just don't feel like that's a very realistic shape. Kind of wonder if I should just go a little more red. Might as well add more red to it. That's kind of that I talk about in the how to paint sunsets. They kind of diffuse the light in that order anyway. As it gets closer to the shadow, it'll turn redder. So this is probably a good color to add into the cloud here. A little bit of red. Now the next question is, what color are the shadows going to be? Basically, I've got an orange hue to this. You know, this is like an orange shade of white. And so since I'm using orange in my light source, I want to use the opposite color in my shadow. So again, opposite to orange, I put red and yellow in my light source where those clouds are lit up, and so opposite to that is blue. So I'm going to make sure that I have a bluish tone on the shadow of this cloud. So let's get my blue brush here. I don't want it to look like the same blue as the sky, and it's a shadow. It's not this bright blue sky, so I need to gray it out. So once again, I'm going to go to the opposite of blue and see that it's orange. So orange is what I'll add to this blue to make it a grayer shadow. Just a little bit, because I still want it to be a shade of blue. See how green that looks? That's wrong. That means I need to do more red. But now, it's way too brown. So, opposite to brown is going to be blue. And once again, brown is just a dark orange. So, I'm going to add blue to get rid of that brown, back to where I started. So you see, I'm using opposite, once again, is to green. I can just keep going like this till I arrive at the right color. If I keep adding too much of everything, I'll just keep going in a circle. All the way around the color wheel. There, I'm liking that tone right there. So I'll start spreading that out. And it's a little bit too intense, too dark, so let me mute it. And I still think it could be bluer, so I'll add more blue. Still think that that's a pretty dark color, so I'll add white. There. Now right now, as I put this on, it doesn't look much darker than the sky, but remember, this water-based paint darkens as it dries, so I just know from experience, you know, that this is going to dry to the darkness that I'm looking for. Let's just randomly make some shadows in here. You know what I should do is get a clean brush. Just really blend this, make it softer. The old dry brush technique.
So since I've really kind of dialed in this shadow color, I can just put that wherever I put it is automatically gonna recede and look like shadows now to these clouds. I'll take it in here, put it here, put some up in here. I need to make sure that I shade the left side of this cloud, because like I said, my light's coming from that way. Now I'll just settle for minimal detail on these clouds so that I can get to the rest of the painting. And really, sometimes less really is more. I mean, you can draw a lot more attention to other parts of your painting by not drawing too much attention to your background. I still think it's a little bit on the greenish side. You know what I should do? This is a good opportunity to add some of the magenta, my bright purple. It's pretty intense color, so you gotta be careful not to add too much. That might be a real nice mix in there. Well, eventually I do need to move on. That's a good spot for a little shadow right there. And I should put one up here too. Since that's up high in the sky, we'll make this shadow a little more colorful, a little brighter. Because it's not falling down by the horizon where the shadows are. Pretty magenta. In the sky alone, I used a lot of color cancellation. My shadows looked too green. They just didn't look natural. I mean, it was just an eyeball thing. I looked at the shadows, I was like, that looks too green. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna add the opposite, red. Then I looked at them and I was like, they're too brown. And I know that brown acts just like orange, and you kill brown by adding blue. And so I added the opposite, blue. And then when they were too yellow, added purple. When it's too purple, added yellow. When I was doing this light, this glowing part, I was looking at it thinking, man, it's too yellow. So then, well, I actually didn't make them more purple. Purple would be opposite yellow. But the goal for the clouds was to make them pop out. And so you see, you use the same concept to make your lights really pop out from the shadows by making the light opposite color, typically on the warm side of the color wheel. See, this section is considered warm colors. This section is considered cool colors. Typically your light source will be warm in like an outdoor scenery, and the shadows will be cool. Oh, that is a lot of information. Let's leave it at that for this session, and then I'm gonna get right to the next video here and start doing mountains and the same concepts. Another video.